Now, the second movie we saw this week was The Oceans. Now, I will introduce that, and it'll be the easiest introduction of all time. It's a documentary about the oceans. Go.
No.
All right, as I watched that trailer, I think maybe my score was a little too low, okay? Because there were some amazing shots in this movie. And it's a movie that you almost have to see, okay? Okay, now, look, I'm getting a little carried away in that statement, especially because I'll tell you what my rating was right up front. I gave it a 7.0, so it's not like I love the movie, right? And what happened was I was expecting to get bored in the movie, to be honest, okay? Because it's a documentary about oceans, like it's going to have some cool shots, you're going to see some really cool fish, I got that, but you know, an hour and a half, etc. But I didn't, for the first hour. For the first hour, I didn't get bored at all, and I thought it was amazing and all that stuff times 10 in the movie, right? But in the second half hour, you know, this is an hour and a half, hour's fine, the last half hour, you know, it started to go down for me a little bit. I started to get bored, and I was like, okay, let's wrap this up. I got it. I've been in the ocean too long. I'm getting that, you know, thing you get on your fingers when, you know, you get the raisin thing. Yeah, wrinkled. Yeah, okay, so now, so that's why I gave it a 7.0, but the reason I'm saying, Matt, that you almost have to see it is, it's so freaking cool. If you got kids, not too young, because some of the stuff looks scary.
Well, you bring up a really good point. You bring up a really good point, right?
So, the young kids will have nightmares about some of those crazy-ass fish, right? But once they get to, I don't know what the magic age is, 8, 10, 12, whatever it is, you almost got to show it to them because, I mean, it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, you know, my first thing I want to say about this movie is if I was giving a score based on spectacle alone, this would absolutely be a 10. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is an amazing, amazing looking film. The footage that they get is nothing short of jaw-dropping. I can't say enough about it. You know, the footage that they're shooting, you know, guys swimming along with whales. And, you know, some of the stuff that you see is just amazing. It's right up there with the level of the things you've been seeing in the Planet Earth documentary on BBC or the more recent Life. It's just stunning footage. This movie is a French movie. It was directed by, we looked him up, a couple guys named Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques Perrine. And Jacques Clouseau.
Jacques Perrine, who directed a movie from a few years back, about 7 or 8 years ago, that I loved called Winged Migration, which is like this but with birds. You know, they're flying with birds about 5 or 6 feet away. So Perrine knows how to shoot a nature documentary. That being said, I had a few problems with this movie. I thought that the narration wasn't working for me that well in that you don't really learn anything. I mean, you know, Pierce Brosnan, who narrates the film, has this nice soothing voice, and it's, you know, you start to think, okay, what are we going to learn about the ocean? And they present it that way. You have to get to know the ocean. But it's only very, very kind of surface, right? You don't really get very deep. And I guess on a certain level, I'm spoiled by those BBC miniseries because they're so deep and you learn so much, you know, but there's certain sequences in this, you know, with the one particular shrimp fighting the crab. And they show that, but you don't really get anything except that the shrimp will attack anything that comes near it. Or there's one particular sequence where the way they talk about it, they say battalions of spider crabs face off against each other. And it's amazing footage, don't get me wrong. You've got dozens on each side and they walk each other and it becomes this big battle. And it pans back and you see that there are thousands, if not millions, of spider crabs underwater off the coast of Australia. Why are they there? I have no idea.
And were they actually fighting?
Were they fighting?
Or
was it some mating
else?
thing?
Yeah, exactly.
You never find out.
And who won? Was it the McGregors or the McLeods?
And that was one thing that kind of bugged me, right? Was why things were happening. You never got very deep, Or for instance, you see amazing footage, things that I had never seen before. For instance, of a pod of whales, of humpback whales, all hunting together, right? And they all come up out of the water. They've got these gigantic mouths. First of all, I hadn't quite realized that a whale would open its mouth quite like that. I mean, that's terrifying. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And they all hunt together, but there's nothing that says this is something they've been doing for years. There's very little depth,
information.
Very little information, and I thought that was kind of disappointing.
Whereas an ocean should go deep, this one didn't.
Exactly.
See, but that's why I got stuck, Matt, because I feel like on footage alone, you almost have to see it.
Right.
But you're right; it delivers so little information that it's very frustrating. You're like, you have my attention for an hour and a half, and you're giving me great footage. Don't put me to sleep.
Well,
give me something to
it's like
work off
It's very much like the IMAX movies used to be, right?
Uh-huh.
If you remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, when IMAX was kind of this luxury kind of novelty thing, and it would only be shots, it was basically pure cinematography. There was no story. They weren't documentaries. It was, film over California. And it was cool stuff to go see, but there was nothing to it. It was, 20, 30 minutes of sitting and saying, wow.
Okay,
that's kind of what's going on here, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm thinking, so it's time for me to say something slightly unacceptable. Is it because they're French? And the culture is, look, it is beautiful.
We were joking about that today. I kind of feel like that. There's a little bit of, oh, the oceans are so beautiful, and we must save them, right? Because then there's the little bits where the narration becomes, you get a few shots of the pollution and animals getting trapped in nets and how awful that is, and it becomes, there's been overfishing and animals are wiping out,
but then you should give me facts.
And exactly, and there's no what are the solutions then? What do we need to stop doing? It really is. It becomes this piece, and this kind of bothered me. It's this piece that the ocean is amazing and beautiful. We must protect it.
It was a little.
That's it. That's all I get.
A little esoteric and a little existential,
Yeah.
And so that was part of the issue with it. And look, you don't need to give me. I don't think I need the solutions, but I do need the facts as to how many fish get caught. I don't know how much trouble they're in, etc.
Right.
Give me a sense of what's happening there. So yeah, we both thought it was a little lacking, which is interesting because the tomato meter is the exact opposite of where we are. For oceans, it's at
they're 80%.
80%.
About 80%.
Okay.
So most of the critics are saying, close to what we've said is, as I've been reading the reviews, most people are saying this is an amazing movie. It's got a couple of holes. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect nature documentary, but it's beautiful. It's a great looking film, and on that alone, it's probably worth seeing. And don't get me wrong, as much as I'm complaining about it and saying that there are holes in it, I think that it is worth seeing. Some of the stuff people have never seen before. And it's not that you don't learn anything. I will admit that I did learn a few things. For instance, I had no idea that the reason that big whales have the wrinkles under their mouths is because they inflate. I wasn't aware of that. So that was interesting. But you have to kind of pick that up yourself. They don't talk about that. They just show it.
Right. And so what was your final score on it?
My final score was a 6.5.
All right. So 6.5. So our average winds up being 6.7. We largely agreed on both movies today. And it's kind of funny because we're largely the opposite of the tomato meter today. Right. So in the end, for the Oceans, I would suggest that you wait till it comes out on DVD. Now, it's great to see it on the big screen, right? I get that. But I'd wait for the DVD and watch it with your 12-year-olds. And they'll love it, and you'll get to talk about it. And maybe you can do a little research and tell them what the movie
and as we're talking about children, I should bring up really quick about this movie is that if you've got little kids, there's going to be some scary stuff in here. There's going to be some stuff that they're having problems with, right? Like the baby turtles trying to get into the ocean, right? Which we all know that that's a perilous journey, but it's sequenced like it's a Hitchcock movie, right? With the birds, you see this little guy like scampering along, and it's kind of cute, and he's going to go, and this bird comes by, and it's just terrifying. And then you see a bunch of that.
All of a sudden, the leaders of the bird says,
"Release the Kraken!"
Exactly.
And they swarm down. And some of the fish honestly look like battleships.
Right.
And some of them are super cool looking. Some of them are super scary looking.
Right. Or like, the little fur seals swimming along, and then here's the great white shark fully jumping out of the water.
Oh, that great white shark jumping out and grabbing those seals, that alone is worth seeing the movie.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. The footage is undeniable. So wait for the DVD. Okay?